After I told everyone I was adopted, my sister started calling me a placeholder kid and told her kids I wasn't really family. So I bought the one thing she'd been saving for and left a note inside that made her knees buckle. I was standing in my sister's kitchen in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, watching her two kids stare at me like I was some kind of stray animal someone dragged in. They wouldn't meet my eyes, they just kept whispering, "She's not really our aunt." I'd only stopped by to drop off a birthday gift for my nephew, but the moment I walked in, the air felt wrong, tight, sour, almost staged. My sister, Megan, leaned against the counter with her arms crossed like she'd been waiting for me, and then she said it again, loud enough for the kids to hear. "Look, I'm not going to pretend anymore. You're basically a placeholder kid. Mom and Dad only adopted you because they were lonely after I left for college. You don't have the same blood. You're not really family." My stomach just dropped. I didn't even have words. I'd only recently told everyone the truth, that Mom had confessed on her deathbed that I was adopted. I'd gone 30 years thinking I was their biological daughter, 30 years believing I belonged. And when I finally shared it, I did it because I needed support. I didn't expect celebration. I didn't expect some big emotional speech. I just didn't expect this. Megan kept going, like she'd been rehearsing it. "Honestly, we should have told you a long time ago, but Mom thought you'd crumble. And I'm not going to let you confuse my kids by making them think everything is the same. It's not." She said it so calmly, so casually. Like she was talking about a broken appliance and not her own sister. Then she grabbed the birthday present out of my hands, set it on the table, and called to her kids. "Come on, guys, let's get ready. We've got to go pick up my layaway item today. And no, Aunt Lily isn't coming. She has her own life." The way she said life, slow, careful, almost mocking, made something inside me crack. She wasn't done humiliating me. She wanted it to sting. She wanted her kids to hear it and absorb it and repeat it. And that's exactly what they did. My nephew looked right up at me and whispered, "Mom said you're like a visitor." My niece giggled. A visitor. In the family I grew up in. In the house where I learned to ride a bike. In the yard where Mom used to braid my hair on the back steps. I felt something cold spread through my chest. Not sadness, not confusion, something sharper. I walked out without saying a word. Didn't fight her. Didn't defend myself. Didn't try to correct her kids. I didn't even take the gift back. I just left. But once I was in my car, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, I remembered something. The layaway item she'd been saving for wasn't just anything. It was the vintage cedar hope chest she'd been obsessed with for years. The one she told everyone she deserved because she was the real daughter, the heir, the one who'd carry on the family line. She'd been making payments for months, waiting for the call that it was ready to pick up. And as I sat there, listening to her words echo in my head, placeholder kid, not really family, visitor, a new thought hit me, clear and quiet. What if I got there first? What if I bought the one thing she'd been clinging to, the symbol of everything she thought she deserved, and left something inside it that she couldn't ignore? Something she'd never be able to forget. And right then, the plan started forming. I grew up believing Megan and I were just two normal sisters in a normal family on the east side of Cedar Rapids. She was 3 years older, which meant she always acted like she was somehow more legitimate, more adult, even when we were kids. She was the one with the strict chore charts, the one who made the rules during play, the one who explained things to me whether she actually knew them or not. But our parents never treated us differently. At least, that's what I thought. Mom made sure we both had matching Easter dresses every year. Dad taught us both how to change a tire in the driveway one hot July afternoon. Christmas photos, school concerts, birthday parties, all of it felt even and fair. I never had a reason to question anything. The only person who ever made me feel less than growing up was Megan. And even then, it was always in small ways, petty little digs that I brushed off as normal sibling rivalry. If I got a better grade, she'd say the teacher liked me too much. If I won an award, she'd joke that people pitied me because I was the quiet one. If I made a friend she didn't like, she'd say they were using me. It was always something, but I never thought it meant anything deeper. Then she went off to Iowa State, and the house got quieter. I remember thinking maybe we'd get closer when she came home on breaks, but instead, she drifted. She acted like she'd graduated from the family the second she got her dorm key. She barely visited. Phone calls became texts. Texts became nothing. When she finally moved back to Cedar Rapids after college, she jumped straight into building her own life, house, husband, kids, and I stayed close to our parents. I visited every other day, helped them with yard work, drove them to appointments. I was the one who cleaned out the spare room when Mom's health started declining. I was the one who kept Dad company the year after she passed. Megan visited on holidays if we were lucky. I never resented her for it. I figured she was just busy. People grow up, take different paths. I didn't think it meant anything more. Then, 6 months ago, everything shifted. Mom had been gone for 2 years when Dad finally sat me down in the living room, the same room where we'd opened presents every Christmas of my entire life, and said Mom had left something for me. It was a letter. Her handwriting was shaky, the ink smudged like she'd been crying while writing it. And in it, she told me the truth. I had been adopted as an infant. She said they never told me because they were afraid I'd doubt how loved I was. She said I had always been theirs in every way that mattered, and that she regretted not telling me sooner. I remember sitting there, clutching that letter, feeling the floor tilt under me. Dad cried, I cried. We held on to each other and he kept saying, "You're my daughter. Nothing changes that." I believed him, I still believe him. But when I told Megan a month later, her reaction wasn't what I expected. She didn't hug me. She didn't ask questions. She didn't even look surprised. She just smirked. Smirked like she'd been waiting for this moment. And that was the first time I realized maybe she'd always known. And maybe she liked knowing something I didn't. But nothing could have prepared me for what she said in that kitchen. Or how far she was willing to go to make sure her kids saw me as a stranger in my own family. After that scene in Megan's kitchen, I kept replaying every interaction we'd had over the past few months, trying to figure out what I'd missed. Because it wasn't just the words she said, it was the confidence behind them. The way she spoke like she had some authority over my place in the family. Like she had been building up to this moment. And the more I thought about it, the more the smaller things started to come back to me. Like when Dad's health started slipping earlier this year, and Megan suddenly took an interest in helping with his paperwork. She'd never cared before, but now she kept hinting that she should probably be the one to handle his estate someday to keep things simple. At the time, I thought she was just being bossy. Or the way she'd made that weird comment during Thanksgiving. I mean, when you think about it, some families just don't follow a straight line. Then she smiled at me like there was some private joke. Or how she'd gotten irritated when Dad started giving me old family heirlooms. Mom's sewing box, the jewelry Dad had bought her when they were young, the little porcelain figurines Mom collected over the years. Megan always rolled her eyes and said, "Why don't you just keep those at your place?" Instead of bringing them to mine. I'd brushed all of it off. But now, with her kids whispering "You're not really our aunt" in her kitchen, it clicked. She wanted me out of the family. Not physically, she wanted me erased. Pushed aside. Framed as an outsider so that when Dad eventually passed, everything would fall to her without question. And the worst part, she thought she had the right. That night, I ended up driving around Cedar Rapids for almost an hour, just letting the anger simmer under my skin. I passed the old parks we used to play in. The hospital where Mom died. The little antique shop on First Avenue, the one with the cedar hope chest sitting right in the front window. The chest. The one Megan kept talking about like it was a crown waiting for her. She wanted it because Mom had once admired it. She said it belonged in the real family, the true line. And she didn't even hide the way she emphasized the word real whenever I was around. Every time she'd bring it up, she'd say something like, "I've been saving for it forever." It's kind of a generational piece. You know, a generational piece. Suddenly her words in the kitchen made more sense. She wasn't just lashing out, she was trying to establish a narrative that I was the extra kid, the afterthought. The one who didn't deserve the family's things because I wasn't really part of the line. She wanted her kids to grow up believing that too, and I realized this wasn't something she said in anger. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't heat-of-the-moment cruelty. She had been waiting for the right moment to say it. She wanted an audience. That was when the anger twisted into something colder, something steady. I drove to the antique shop and sat outside in the parking lot for 10 minutes, staring at the glowing window and that cedar hope chest inside. My hands were still shaking from what she'd said, but underneath the shaking, something else was forming. Not revenge. Not yet. Just resolve. Because if she wanted to treat me like some disposable, placeholder kid, then she was about to learn something she'd never forget. I don't disappear. I don't fade out. And if she's going to shove me to the edge of the family, I'm going to make damn sure she remembers exactly who pushed back. I walked into the antique shop the next morning right when they opened. The bell over the door gave that soft, old-fashioned jingle, and for a second I felt almost calm. The kind of calm that sits on top of a storm, pretending things aren't about to break open. The owner, Mrs. Delaney, recognized me immediately. She, known our family for years. She used to slip me peppermint candies when I came in with Mom as a kid. She smiled. "Morning, Lily, you hear about the chest?" I froze. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, like she suddenly regretted opening her mouth. "I just assumed. Your sister was in here yesterday, said she was excited to pick it up this week." My stomach tightened. "She already finished paying it off." "No," Mrs. Delaney said softly, "but that's the thing." She walked behind the counter, pulled out a worn binder, and opened it to a page with Megan's name. And right under her last partial payment was a note written in Megan's messy handwriting. "Please hold until Friday, my father will cover the rest." I felt my chest tighten. "My dad," Mrs. Delaney nodded. "She said he wanted you both to have important family pieces, but this one was meant for her. She said he'd be coming in to finish paying today or tomorrow." My vision buzzed for a moment. Dad. The man who hugged me when Mom's letter broke me. The man who cried telling me nothing would change. The man who promised I was still his daughter. He was going to pay for Megan's chest, the one she'd been using to make a point about blood, legacy, and who the real daughter was. I swallowed hard. Did she say why he was paying? Mrs. Delaney gave me that gentle, pitying look older women give when they can't fix something. She said he felt guilty about everything coming out recently. She said he wanted to make it up to her. That he wanted her to have something from your mother. Side of the line, side of the line. The same phrase Megan used in her kitchen. It hit me like a punch. She had gotten to him. She told him things, twisted things. Made him feel guilty for adopting me, made him believe he owed her something. And he believed her enough to hand her the very thing she'd weaponized against me. I didn't cry. Not right then. The tears sat behind my eyes like they were waiting for permission, but they didn't fall. Instead, something inside me locked into place. A click, a shift, a cold clarity. Megan wasn't spiraling. She wasn't lashing out. She wasn't jealous or insecure or confused. She was coordinating. She had known about the adoption all along. She had fed Dad guilt until he felt indebted to her. She had been shaping the narrative, telling her kids, telling Dad, telling herself that she was the rightful heir to anything that mattered. And she'd done it quietly, carefully, piece by piece, until the day she could say to my face, "You're not really family." Standing there in that antique shop, I realized something else. This wasn't about me being adopted. Not really. This was about Megan wanting to be the center. The chosen one, the only one, and the hope chest. It wasn't just furniture to her. It was her proof, the physical symbol that she was the true daughter and I was just the extra. Well, not anymore. I looked at Mrs. Delaney and said the words calmly, without hesitation. "I'd like to buy it. Right now, in full." Her eyebrows shot up, but she didn't argue. 5 minutes later, the cedar chest was mine. But the real moment, the one that would make her knees buckle, came later, when I lifted the lid and placed something inside it that Megan would never see coming. Something that would blow her entire narrative apart. Something she thought she had destroyed forever. And when she found it, she'd finally understand, I wasn't the placeholder. She was. I brought the cedar hope chest home in the back of my car. Wrapped in blankets the shop owner helped me tie down. Driving through Cedar Rapids with that thing in my trunk felt surreal, like I was carrying a detonator instead of furniture. When I got home, I dragged it into my living room. The chest was heavier than it looked, solid wood with brass hinges that creaked when I opened it. It smelled like cedar and old varnish, and something else I couldn't name, maybe the weight of everything Megan thought it represented. I sat on the floor, the lid open in front of me, and just stared. This was supposed to be her victory piece, her inheritance, her legacy, her symbol that she belonged more than I did. And now it was sitting in my living room, waiting for me to decide what went inside, the part Megan could never prepare for. That's when I pulled out Mom's letter, the adoption letter, the one Megan didn't think I still had. Dad had asked if he could keep it for safekeeping a couple months ago after I'd shown it to him. He looked so emotional when he asked, nervous, almost that I thought maybe it helped him feel close to Mom. I didn't question it. I made a copy and gave him the original, but that copy, the one I kept, the one Megan didn't know existed, that was going in the chest. Because Megan had been running around telling her kids I wasn't real family, whispering to Dad that he owed her something because she was the true heir, acting like the adoption somehow erased 30 years of Mom raising me, loving me, choosing me. But Mom's letter, her actual words, didn't say I was the extra. They said I was wanted, chosen, loved, a daughter in every way that mattered. And Megan had been banking on the idea that I either didn't keep the letter or didn't understand the power it held. But that wasn't enough. I needed more than just the letter. I needed something that would rip Megan's narrative apart at the root, something undeniable. So I pulled out the old family photo albums Dad had given me after Mom died. The ones Megan never cared about. I opened album after album, looking for specific pages. The ones Megan wouldn't expect me to remember. Mom holding me in the hospital. Mom rocking me to sleep. Mom kissing me on the forehead in the backyard. Birthday cakes with my name in frosting. Christmas mornings where Dad had one arm around Megan and one around me. Vacations, camping trips, school plays. Every picture where Mom wasn't performing, where she looked at me with that soft, tired smile she only used when she thought no one was watching. I slipped 4 of those photos into an envelope, not dramatic ones, not staged ones. Just the quiet, normal moments that made a childhood. Then I wrote 3 sentences on the front. For whoever opens this chest next, this is the truth of who Mom loved. Not blood, but choice. But still, it wasn't enough. I needed one more thing, the thing that would hit Megan right where she lived. So I drove to Dad's house. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. I just went to the mailbox, pulled out the small stack of letters, and flipped through until I saw the one with Megan's handwriting. The one she sent Dad last week. The one where she'd written, in her careless scrawl, "I'm just trying to protect the real family line." I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I just slid it into the envelope with the photos and the letter copy. Then I placed the envelope inside the cedar chest, closed the lid, and ran my hand across the top. This wasn't revenge yet. This was just the preparation, the foundation, because Megan thought she had the story airtight. But she forgot one thing: I grew up in this family too. I saw things she didn't. I remembered things she ignored. And I was ready to use all of it. And the part she truly wasn't ready for, the twist that would make her entire world crack, was only just beginning to unfold. 2 days later, the twist hit me in a way I didn't expect, not from Megan, but from Dad. I was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking cold coffee and rereading the envelope I'd placed inside the chest, when my phone buzzed with a call from his number. My stomach tightened. I almost didn't answer. When I finally picked up, his voice sounded shaky. And not sick shaky, guilty shaky. "Lily," he said, "can you come over? There's something we need to talk about." My pulse kicked. I drove straight to his place, half expecting Megan to be there waiting to corner me again. But her car wasn't in the driveway. It was just Dad, sitting at the dining room table with a manila folder in front of him. He didn't say a word at first. He just pushed the folder toward me. "Open it." Inside were legal papers, thick stacks of them. Some were recent within the last few months. Some were years old. My name was all over them. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw it. A guardianship agreement, signed by my parents, but not finalized. Because it wasn't from 30 years ago, it was from 2 years before Mom died. My throat went dry, "Dad, what is this?" He covered his face with his hands. "Your mother didn't want you to know, she didn't want to scare you. But when you turned 28, something happened at the agency, some kind of a clerical update. A record review." He swallowed hard. "They found an error in the original adoption paperwork. One signature, one missing form that was never filed. You were still ours completely. But legally, they said we needed to recertify guardianship to avoid complications down the line." My pulse roared in my ears. "And we didn't tell you," he said miserably. "We thought it was just paperwork. We thought it would embarrass you, make you feel like you weren't secure. We planned to fix it quietly." I sat frozen, the papers spread in front of me. He took a shaking breath. "But before we could finish it, your mother got sick, and Megan—" He stopped. Something inside me snapped to attention. "And Megan what?" He looked away, eyes wet. "She told us not to file it." My heart stopped. "She said you were an adult, that it didn't matter, that you didn't need all that, and I believed her. I thought she was just helping me prioritize what mattered when your mom was dying." He shut his eyes. "But last month she brought it up again. She said we never finished things with you, and that it might affect inheritance later. I didn't understand what she meant until she kept repeating it." My stomach turned cold. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't just her being cruel about the adoption. She had convinced Dad to leave a legal loose thread on purpose, something she could pull when the time came, something she could twist into proof that I didn't have the same standing in the family. A loophole she created, a loophole she planned to use. Dad looked up at me, eyes red. "I didn't know she would use it against you. I didn't know." But I did, because in that moment everything locked into place. Megan didn't just want the heirlooms. She didn't just want the chest. She didn't just want to shame me in front of her kids. She wanted the estate, all of it, legally clean, legally hers, and she had been laying the groundwork for years. The real family line, the smear campaign, the secrecy, the guilt, the manipulation, the hints about keeping things simple. And now this, the guardianship loophole she'd used to convince Dad he owed her something. She wasn't destroying my place in the family emotionally. She was doing it legally. And if I hadn't bought that cedar chest when I did, if I hadn't taken it out from under her, I never would have uncovered this. Because inside that chest, along with Mom's letter and the photos and Megan's own handwriting, I was about to place one more document, the copy Dad gave me before he even realized what he'd handed over. Proof that Megan had knowingly withheld the final filing. Proof she had erased my legitimacy on purpose. Proof she'd been planning this for years. The chest wasn't just a symbol anymore. It was evidence. And when Megan opened it, she wouldn't just find the truth, she'd find her own trap. I drove home from Dad's house with the manila folder on my lap like it was a live explosive. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from fear anymore, from the kind of clarity that only happens when the truth hits so hard it rearranges your entire understanding of someone. I'd thought Megan was jealous. I'd thought she was bitter. I'd thought maybe she was hurt by something I never understood, but none of that explained this. What she'd done wasn't emotional, it wasn't reactive, it wasn't even impulsive, it was calculated. And I didn't fully understand how deep that calculation went until I found the voicemail on my phone later that night. It was from one of Megan's friends, a woman named Tara who used to babysit us when we were kids. She called me sometimes to check in after Mom died. Her voice sounded hesitant, strained. "Hey, Lily, I heard what happened at Megan's place. She told the story at church group today, and I need to correct something before it gets worse." "Call me, please." I called her back immediately. Her voice was low and shaky. "I don't want to be in the middle of anything, but Megan said some things today that didn't sit right. I think you need to know what she's been saying." "What exactly?" I asked, bracing myself. She exhaled like the weight of it scared her. "She's been telling people your parents adopted you because they didn't want her. That your existence was proof they were disappointed in her. And this is her wording, not mine, blood shouldn't be diluted just because they made a mistake." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Diluted. Like I was something watered down, a contaminant. "She also said," Tara continued quietly, "that she couldn't let you take more than you deserved after everything she'd already lost." My chest tightened. Lost. What did she lose? Tara hesitated. Then she said the sentence that made everything fall into place. The sentence that explained the cruelty in the kitchen, the manipulation with Dad, the guardianship sabotage, the hope chest obsession, all of it. Megan told everyone that your adoption was the moment her life stopped being special, that you stole her identity as the only child, that she'd been born to inherit everything until you came along. A cold wave rolled through me. She said, Tara whispered, that ever since you were adopted, she's felt like she's had to fight for her place in the family, that if she didn't protect what she considers her birthright, you'd end up with things she was supposed to have. Birthright. Her word, her justification. The truth hit me like a punch. Megan didn't hate me because I was adopted. She hated me because she thought I replaced her. In her mind, I wasn't a baby mom and Dad wanted. I was the proof that they hadn't wanted her enough. And she spent 30 years turning that insecurity into a narrative where she was the wronged heir and I was the intruder. A narrative she repeated so often she believed it. That's why she withheld the guardianship filing. That's why she poisoned Dad with guilt. That's why she told her kids I wasn't real family. That's why she wanted the cedar chest so badly, not for the chest itself, but for what it represented. That she was the daughter who mattered. That Mom's love had been hers alone. That the family legacy was supposed to pass through her and only her. And when she saw me still loved, still trusted, still chosen, it ruined her. This wasn't about insecurity anymore. This was about entitlement, sharp, cold, and delusional. A kind of selfishness that didn't just hurt people, it consumed them. And now I understood exactly what kind of person I was dealing with. Not a jealous sibling, not a confused daughter. A woman who believed, truly believed, that my existence had stolen the life she deserved. And I was about to make her confront the truth she'd been trying to bury for decades. The truth sitting inside that cedar chest, waiting like a loaded weapon. I didn't drag things out. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or argue or try to talk it through. Megan wasn't someone you reasoned with, she was someone you exposed. So I waited until Friday morning, the day she planned to pick up the cedar chest she thought Dad had paid off for her. Then I loaded the chest into my car and drove it straight to Dad's house. He answered the door looking older than I'd ever seen him. I need you to see something, I said. I set the chest right in the middle of his living room. Dad sat down slowly, like he already sensed something was coming. I opened the lid, took a step back, and let him reach inside. He pulled out the envelope I'd left inside, thick with documents and photos and Mom's words. He read everything, twice. By the end, his shoulders had slumped, and he pressed his hand to his mouth like he was trying not to break. He whispered, "She told me I was protecting her. She said it was what your mother wanted." I shook my head. "She lied to both of us." Before he could say more, tires crunched outside. Megan's SUV. She'd come to pick up Dad. She'd expected him to go with her to get her chest. She walked into the living room without knocking. She took one look at the chest, then at me, and her face twisted. But when she saw the envelope in Dad's hands, her whole expression changed, her confidence snapped like a dry twig. "Dad," she said sharply. "You weren't supposed to," he stood. "Don't, not one more lie." She froze. I'd never seen her look afraid before. He held up the copy of the guardianship paperwork she'd convinced him not to file. "You did this. You made me believe she didn't deserve what you called the full legal place in this family." Megan's voice cracked. "I was just trying to protect the real family line," I cut in. Her eyes flicked to mine like she wanted to claw me apart. Dad kept going. "You told your children their aunt wasn't family. You told people Lily stole your life. You weaponized something you knew would hurt her." The last part came out almost a whisper. "You tried to erase your sister." Megan's jaw clenched. "She isn't my sister." That sentence, that sharp, hateful sentence, sealed what happened next. Dad walked to the chest, picked up the photos I had placed inside, the ones of Mom holding me, loving me, and shoved them into Megan's hands. "This," he said, voice breaking, "is your mother, and she gets the final say." "Not you." I pulled the last item from the chest, a printed notarized form I'd filed that morning with Dad, the completed guardianship certification. Official, Legal. Permanent. Dad signed it in front of me. Then he said something I'll never forget. You wanted a line of inheritance. Fine, here's the line. Lily is my daughter, legally, emotionally, entirely. And if you can't accept that, you don't get a place in this house. Megan's face went pale, blotchy. She looked down at the chest. The thing she'd believed proved she was the chosen one, now filled with proof of her lies. She opened the envelope. She saw the letter, the photos, her own handwriting calling me an outsider. And inside that chest, she saw it all collapse. Her narrative, her claim, her version of our family. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Dad didn't let her stay another second. He told her to leave and take her poison with her. She did. 3 months have passed. She hasn't spoken to Dad since. Her kids still don't understand what happened, only that their mom got in trouble for lying. But Dad. He calls me every day. He apologized more times than I can count. He asked if I'd bring the cedar chest back to his house, not for Megan, but because Mom always wanted something beautiful for my future. It sits in my hallway now. Mine. Not because I stole it, but because Megan tried to use it to erase me and failed. The revenge wasn't the chest itself. It was making her open it and find the truth she'd spent decades trying to bury. And here's the kicker, the line I finally feel strong enough to say. Turns out I wasn't the placeholder. I was the daughter who stayed.